Hi folks, we're now going to take a look at order of operations. Now the operations we're talking about is the use of brackets, exponents, division and multiplication, addition and subtraction. Okay, now as you move on through high school, you'll see that there's other operations that we can perform on numbers, but we're going to stick with these basic ones here. Okay, now one thing I want to bring your attention to is that division and multiplication actually have the same priority, and addition and subtraction also have the same priority. In fact, division and multiplication are connected operations, as are addition and subtraction. Okay, so we essentially just use this order because it makes a nice word to help us remember. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of where we have multiple operations. So in the previous video, if you watched it, you remember that there's particular rules we follow when we're multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting negative numbers, taking exponents of negative numbers. Okay, so we have to keep all those rules in play. But what happens when you have more than one operation? So let's look at an example here. Let's say we've got 2 plus 5 times 8 divided by 4. Okay, so obviously it would be very tempting to just go left to right and say, well, 2 plus 5 is 7, then multiply that by 8, then divided by 4. But of course, that's not how it works when we're applying the correct order of operations. So we see here that we have an addition, multiplication, division. Okay, so this addition is going to be the last thing that we do, okay, because multiplication, division take precedence in the order. Okay, however, something a little more to say about that, because here we have a multiplication and division, okay, and we said that these have the same priority. Okay, so the question is, we need a way to deal with the scenario where we've got more than one operation that has the same priority. And the way we deal with this is, now we're going to go left to right. Okay, so you have to do 5 times 8 before you divide by 4. You can't do 8 divided by 4 and then multiply to 5. So that's what we call a convention, meaning something that everybody's decided on, that is the way in which we're going to proceed to operate on these numbers. Okay, so this addition of 2 has to wait. First thing I have to do now is I see the same priority, so I have to go left to right. So 5 times 8 is 40 divided by 4. And then now the next one is that second in the division multiplication category. So 2 plus 40 divided by 4 is 10. And so now I can finally do this addition, that all the other operations have been completed. So my final answer is 12. Okay. Now if you are using a calculator, your calculator understands these operations. But of course, we're asking you to learn how to do these without a calculator. Okay, because you also see that sometimes it's important to understand the order of operations in order to be able to input things correctly into your calculator. Okay, so let's take a look at a second, more complicated example. Throw in some exponents in there too, so in some brackets. So here I'll get 5 minus 2 squared, okay, plus 8 divided by 8 times negative 4 squared. Okay. So here, this whole bracket certainly has to be done before we can do this addition. And here we've got some multiplications, divisions, exponents that all have to be done again before this addition takes place. So this addition will be the last thing that we do. So let's start by taking care of what's inside the brackets. Okay, so here inside the bracket we have a subtraction and an exponent. So again, don't fall into the trap of doing 5 minus 2, 3, and then squaring it. Okay, you would need to have brackets around the 5 minus 2 in order to proceed in that order. Here you have to deal with the exponent first. Okay, so we have 5 minus 2 squared is 4. Okay, plus. Now because this addition is separating out these two series of operations, you actually can work on this second side. So let's do that, so save ourselves a bit of time. So here I have a division. When there's no operation shown, again, we assume that's a multiplication, but of course we have this exponent. So this is what takes precedent in this series of operations. So this division is going to have to wait. This multiplication is going to have to wait. Okay, so now we have negative 4 squared. Okay, so here this exponent applies to everything inside the bracket. So you got to think this negative 4 is being squared, so negative 4 times negative 4 is going to give me positive 16. Okay, so now let's finish off the bracket here. We have 5 minus 4, which is just 1. Okay, now that I've evaluated everything in the bracket, I can eliminate the bracket. I don't need any more. Again, this addition is separating everything out. So now again, I've got a similar scenario to before. I've got a division followed by multiplication. So again, the rule is you just go left to right. So first you do 8 divided by 8, which is just 1, and then times 16. And so now we have 1 plus 1 times 16 is just 16. And finally, we can take care of this addition here. So the final answer is 17. Okay, so just to recap, okay, this is the order in which we follow when we have multiple operations. Keep in mind that division, multiplication have equal priority. So if there's a bunch of those, you perform them left to right. Same thing with addition and subtraction. They have equal priority. If you have several additions and additions and subtractions occurring one after the other, you just go left to right. Okay.